The trap around Earth. The stars over Earth were no longer quiet. Dozens of alien warships glowed in the black sky like a chain of fire, each one locking Earth inside an invisible cage. The people of Earth looked up and saw streaks of light crossing the night. Some thought it was only satellites or meteors, but the truth was far darker. In orbit, the alien fleet moved in perfect silence. Their ships were massive, sharp, and cold, designed for one purpose only: control. The aliens had chosen Earth as their example, a warning to the rest of the galaxy. Defy us, and this will be your fate. Inside the alien command ship, High Commander Zor looked at the blue sphere below. He smiled, a cruel expression spreading across his scaled face. "Earth is trapped," he hissed, his voice echoing in the chamber. "They have nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The net is complete." Around him, alien officers bowed, convinced of their own victory. For them, humans were weak creatures, primitive, chaotic, emotional. They believed the trap would break Earth's will before even one shot was fired. On the ground, however, Earth was not silent out of fear. Inside deep bunkers beneath old mountains, hidden control rooms flickered to life. Screens lit up. Operators whispered in hushed tones. Generals stood over maps and holograms, their faces calm but their eyes burning with cold focus. One officer spoke softly. "Sir, they think we are cornered." The general gave no smile, no reply, only a single nod. "They always think that," he said. "Let them believe it." In the skies, alien patrols tightened their hold. They blocked every signal, jammed every channel, and cut off Earth from her colonies. They broadcasted a single message on every frequency: "Surrender your world, humans, and we will let you live. Resist, and Earth will be ashes." But no human replied. The silence stretched hour after hour. The aliens grew restless, waiting for the sound of begging, waiting for the collapse of human spirit. Instead, they only saw Earth's lights glowing. Quietly in the dark, cities alive, people moving, unbroken. Then strange things began to happen. Their sensors caught encrypted bursts from Earth's surface, short and sharp. The codes repeated in patterns the aliens could not break. Zor's officers grew confused. "Commander, their transmissions are meaningless. Perhaps panic signals." Zor snarled. "It does not matter. They are trapped. Let them cry." Yet far below, inside the bunkers, humans were not crying. The transmissions were no accident, no random noise. They were old codes, written long before the galaxy knew Earth had joined the stars. Codes built for one purpose. Waking, the hidden underground vaults opened, long tunnels shook, metal doors rolled aside with thunder. Inside them, machines older than most human officers roared back to life. Engines growled like beasts waking. From sleep, their sound was felt more than heard, deep vibrations shaking the concrete walls. In orbit, alien scouts reported ghost readings. Something massive moved behind Earth's shadow, but each time they checked, the readings vanished. "Phantom signals," one alien engineer muttered nervously, but others began to whisper. What if they were not phantoms? On the alien command ship, Zor tightened his grip on the railing. "Do not be fooled by tricks," he shouted. "Humans are prey. They always have been prey, and prey cannot fight the hunter." His words sounded strong, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of doubt. Down on Earth, in a sealed war room, General Ardan stood before his people. The room was cold, filled with the hum of old machines now alive once again. Ardan's voice was quiet but carried weight. "They think Earth is trapped," he said, "but the trap is not theirs. It is ours." The operators exchanged looks, a shiver of both fear and excitement running through them. Ardan pressed a key on the console, the code transmitting one last time. "Awaken them all," he ordered. In the silence of orbit, something stirred. A shape darker than the void itself shifted. Hidden until this moment, the alien fleet did not see it yet. But Earth had been waiting, not with surrender, not with fear, but with a secret older than their war. A secret that would turn hunters into the hunted. The first move had been made, and the galaxy did not yet understand. Earth was never the prey. It was the predator, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The last broadcast. The alien fleet stretched across the sky like a burning ring. Every channel, every frequency, every open signal was now filled with one voice. The alien commander's demand: Earth, surrender at once. Lay down your weapons. Hand over your leaders. Obey, and you may live. The words echoed in 100 languages, translated by alien machines. Cities across Earth heard the same command on their radios, their televisions, even in the static of their phones. The aliens wanted to crush hope before a single shot was fired. They believed fear was stronger than bullets. Inside the alien flagship, High Commander Zor leaned back in his chair. He imagined human leaders falling to their knees, begging for mercy. He imagined the silence of a broken planet, but the silence that followed was not what he expected. Minutes passed, then an hour, then another. No reply came from Earth, no surrender, no begging, not even a single word. The humans refused to answer. Zor slammed his fist against the table, his claws sparking against the metal. "Why do they not respond?" he roared. His officers shifted nervously. "They may be too terrified, Commander," one said carefully. "Or perhaps planning something," whispered another. The commander's eyes burned with rage, but he forced a smile. "Let them be silent. Silence is the same as fear, and fear means victory." But deep inside, a seed of doubt had been planted on Earth. Deep below the mountains, the silence was no accident. General Ardun stood in front of a glowing screen, his face lit only by the green light of the codes running across it. Behind him, rows of operators waited for his signal. "They expect us to beg," Ardun said, his voice steady. "But Earth does not beg. We answer only when it matters." The codes continued, sharp bursts firing into the void. Aliens thought the signals were panic or nonsense, but in truth they were commands. Commands sent to machines waiting in the shadows. Old war systems that had been buried and hidden from the galaxy. Then at last a reply was prepared. It was not a plea, not a cry, not even a threat. It was a single broadcast sent on all channels at once. The voice was human, calm and cold. "You think this trap belongs to you," the voice said, "but the only ones trapped are you." The message was short. Only those words. Then silence returned. But the silence was no longer empty. It was heavy, like the calm before a storm. In the alien fleet, officers froze as the words replayed in their minds. They claim the trap is ours," one muttered. In disbelief, "Impossible," Zor snapped, his tail lashing against the floor. "They are bluffing. Prey always bluffs before it dies." Yet even as he spoke, his sensors picked up strange activity. Energy spikes pulsed from beneath Earth's surface, patterns of light rising into the sky like veins of fire. "Report!" Zor barked. "Unknown. Energy surges, Commander," the sensor officer replied. "They don't match any human technology we know. It's older, heavier." Zor's smile faltered. He turned sharply to his communications officer. "Send another message. Crush them with our power. Show them their silence is useless." The aliens broadcast again, louder this time. Screens across Earth flickered with alien symbols. The commander's voice boomed. "You cannot win, humans. Surrender or your world will burn." But the humans did not reply with fear. Instead, they answered with action. In orbit, satellites that had been dead for decades suddenly lit up. Some were not satellites at all, but disguised weapons, black spears hidden in the silence of space. They turned slowly, aiming not at Earth, but at the alien ships above. The alien fleet picked up the shift immediately. "Commander, multiple orbital objects activating," an officer shouted. Zor narrowed his eyes. "Destroy them before they can fire," he ordered, but the satellites did not fire. Instead, they began transmitting, their signals linking together. A network unseen by the galaxy for centuries snapped into place. A net not around Earth but around the invaders. In the bunkers, General Ardun watched the screens flash as the satellites connected. A cold smile touched his lips. "The last broadcast has been sent," he said softly. "Now, they will understand." Back in orbit, the alien fleet suddenly found their own communications scrambled. Their ships, once united, now crackled with static. Orders broke apart, confusion spread. The hunters had just become blind. Jor stood in stunned silence. "They turned the net on us," his officer whispered in horror. The commander's claws dug deep into the table. "This is not possible," he growled. But the truth was there, shining in the void. The trap had closed, and it was not around Earth. It was around the alien fleet. And for the first time, fear touched the invaders, because the silence of Earth was not weakness. It was the sound of a predator waiting to strike. Shadows in orbit. The alien fleet was no longer calm. Once their formation had been tight, their lines clean, their commands sharp. But now, their screens flickered with broken signals, their voices filled with static. The net they had built around Earth had been twisted back upon them. Inside the flagship, High Commander Zor stalked across the control deck, his officers bent low, their eyes darting across the screens. Everywhere, ghost signals appeared and disappeared, large objects moving, in the dark but vanishing when scanned again. "They are illusions," Zor hissed, his claws tapping the railing. "Tricks to frighten us, nothing more." Yet his own eyes betrayed unease, for these shadows were too large, too sharp, too steady to be random echoes. On Earth's surface, deep below, General Ardan stood in the war room. His operators reported one by one. "Orbital phantoms confirmed, sir. They've seen the first shapes." Ardan gave a single nod. "They were never meant to be seen," he said quietly. "But if the enemy looks close enough, the shadows will answer." In the void above Earth, the phantoms grew bolder, massive outlines drifting from behind the planet's shadow, dark forms that swallowed starlight. At first, they looked like pieces of rock or dead satellites, but then the aliens realized these were not rocks. These were ships. One officer gasped, "Commander, those signatures, they are enormous." Zor slammed his fist into the console. "Impossible! Earth cannot build ships of this size. They have no resources, no technology." But the evidence was clear. Each shadow stretched across the void like a moving mountain, silent, cold, and ancient. The aliens moved to intercept. Frigates rushed ahead, scanning, locking weapons, but as soon as their sensors locked, the shadows vanished again. It was as if the dark itself swallowed them whole. And then, without warning, one shadow moved, not drifting this time, but cutting forward with speed. It slid between two alien cruisers, silent as death. For one long second, nothing happened. Then a single white line cut across the void. The alien cruiser split apart like paper, its pieces drifting into fire. Silence fell across the alien fleet. No explosion had been, heard no energy spike recorded. Only the quiet slicing of a warship destroyed without a trace. "Commander," an officer whispered. "What are those things?" But Zor had no answer, for even he, a hardened veteran, felt his throat tighten. On Earth, the people did not yet know what had risen in their name. Cities still watched the sky with fear. Families huddled in shelters waiting for the fire to rain down. But far below, in the bunkers, the generals knew. These were humanity's oldest weapons, ships built in silence, hidden for decades. War machines designed not for show, but for the single purpose of survival. The aliens called them shadows, but among humans their true name had been long buried in secrecy. The Dark Fleet. The Dark Fleet had been sleeping, orbiting unseen, its hulls black as the void, its weapons designed to leave no trace, each ship a predator waiting in silence. Now, the predators had awakened. Another alien ship exploded, this time from within, a spear of invisible energy cutting straight through its core. The fleet broke formation, ships scattering like startled birds. Panic filled their channels. "Enemy contacts! Unknown weapons, they're everywhere!" Zor roared for order. "Hold the line, they are only shadows. They bleed like any prey." But even as he spoke, more shadows moved. They drifted across the fleet, striking fast and vanishing. Every attack left another burning carcass of a warship. For the first time, the hunters felt hunted. The aliens realized their trap had turned into a cage for themselves. Every exit blocked, every escape route covered. They were no longer in control. Earth was. General Ardon watched the reports flow in. His face remained calm, but his hands gripped the table tight. He whispered to himself. The shadows were made for this moment. Let them remember what humanity can do. In the alien flagship, silence grew heavy. One by one, officers turned toward their commander. Their eyes were wide, their scales pale. Fear spread across the bridge. Zor knew what they were thinking. The trap was broken. The invaders were no longer the predators. They were the prey caught in the dark and somewhere deep in the void. Unseen by alien eyes, more shadows stirred. For what the enemy had seen so far was only the beginning. Humanity's hidden arsenal. The alien fleet was breaking apart. Their once perfect formation now looked scattered and weak. Everywhere, shadows of human warships moved like hunters in the dark. Each strike was silent but deadly. Inside the alien flagship, Commander Zor's face twisted with rage. "Report," he shouted. An officer stammered. 3 cruisers destroyed, 5 damaged. We cannot track their weapons. They appear, then vanish. Zor slammed his claws on the console. No human fleet should exist. They were primitive. They had nothing but colony ships. But the truth was now undeniable. Earth had been hiding something. Something older, stronger, and far more dangerous than the galaxy had ever believed. Down on Earth, General Ardon stood before a massive holographic map. The screen showed the alien fleet trapped inside their own circle. Ardon's voice was calm but sharp. They thought the net was theirs, he said. But this battlefield was built for us. They walked into our design. One of his officers asked nervously, "Sir, do we reveal the full arsenal?" Ardon paused. He knew what that meant. The weapons buried for decades, hidden even from most humans. If unleashed, they would show the galaxy what humanity truly prepared for. At last, Ardon nodded. "Release them, all of them. Tonight the galaxy learns what Earth is." Beneath Earth's oceans, enormous vaults opened. The seabeds trembled as doors the size of cities slid apart. From the black water rose war machines that no alien spy had ever seen. Submarine fortresses carrying missile silos and rail cannons. Their shadows stretched across the waves like mountains rising from the deep. In hidden deserts, ancient bunkers cracked open. Sand poured aside as launch platforms lifted into the air. Missiles long buried beneath stone ignited for the first time in decades. Their trails lit the night sky, rising not toward Earth but toward the alien blockade above. On the moon, craters shifted and split. Panels of rock fell away, revealing massive railguns carved into the surface itself. The weapons had slept under lunar dust for 50 years. Now they awoke, glowing bright with power. The alien fleet screamed with panic. "Commander!" Weapons fire from Earth itself, multiple points. Zor growled, his chest heaving. "Intercept them. Stop those missiles." Alien destroyers moved to block the incoming swarm. Their lasers cut the first few into ash. But then the second wave came, faster, sharper, deadlier. And behind them, the shadows moved, striking ships that dared turn their weapons away from Earth. Explosions lit the void. Alien ships burned one after another. The trap was closing tighter every second. What they thought was, Earth's weakness had become Earth's strength. Zor's officers shouted in fear. "They have orbital cannons on the moon. Submarine weapons from their oceans. This was planned." The commander froze. For the first time, he realized the truth. Earth had not stumbled into this war blindly. Earth had been waiting, preparing in silence for decades. General Ardon stood in his war room watching the map glow red with alien losses. "Humanity never forgot," he said quietly. "We never trusted the galaxy, not after the first wars. We built our arsenal where no one could see." A sudden roar shook the alien fleet. One of their heavy battleships exploded as a hidden railgun round tore through its spine. Another cruiser broke apart under the ocean-borne missiles. The aliens cried out, "They are everywhere! We are trapped inside their weapons!" Zor roared to silence his crew, but his own voice cracked with fear. This was no longer a simple conquest. This was a death cage, and Earth was the executioner. Yet still, the shadows in orbit had not revealed their full power. The dark fleet, waited, circling slowly, striking only when needed. It was not desperation driving humanity. It was patience, a predator's patience. And as the alien fleet bled in the dark, one final question spread across their ranks. If this was only Earth's hidden arsenal, then what else were the humans still keeping secret? The turning point. The night sky above Earth burned with fire. Alien wrecks drifted like broken bones, their flames painting streaks across the stars. Yet the battle was far from over. The alien fleet still outnumbered humanity, still larger, still stronger. But numbers alone could not win a war when the battlefield itself belonged to Earth. Inside the flagship, Commander Zor gritted his teeth, his claws dug into the armrest of his chair. "Reform the lines," he roared. "Crush their shadows, burn their weapons, and break this planet once and for all." His words carried power, but his fleet no longer obeyed with perfect order. Fear had entered their ranks. Ships drifted out of formation. Captains argued on broken channels. The net that once held Earth had cracked. In the deep bunkers of Earth, General Ardan's eyes narrowed as he studied the glowing maps. Alien ships were moving erratically, their formations shattered. "Now, Ardan," said quietly, "now we strike together." Across the planet and its orbit, humanity's hidden arsenal roared to life in unison. The moon's railguns fired again, massive slugs ripping through the void. Missiles rose from Earth's oceans in shining arcs. And from behind the planet, the dark fleet emerged in full strength. For the first time, the aliens saw them clearly. Colossal black ships, their hulls absorbing starlight. Engines so quiet they seemed like shadows come alive. Every alien officer froze as they watched. Some whispered in disbelief. "These ships, they are bigger than our destroyers. How did humans build them?" The truth struck them hard. Humans had not just hidden weapons, they had hidden warships. A fleet equal to or greater than the best in the galaxy. And now it was unleashed. The dark fleet moved like hunters, their weapons fired with terrifying precision. One alien battleship tried to turn and fire, but before it could release a single shot, 3 beams of silent light tore through its armor. It split in half, falling apart in silence. Another alien cruiser attempted to retreat, but the satellites above linked again. Their signals created a barrier, a wall of interference that made escape impossible. The aliens were trapped in their own net. Inside the flagship, chaos spread. "Commander, the exits are blocked." "Commander, multiple destroyers gone." "Commander, they've turned the battlefield into a cage." Jor's face twisted in fury, but deep in his chest fear grew. "This was never our trap," he whispered bitterly. "This was theirs, from the beginning." Back on Earth, General Ardan gave the final order. "Seal the exits. Lock the net. Make them understand." One by one, the Dark Fleet's warships moved to block every path of escape. Their engines glowed faintly, their weapons ready. The alien fleet tried to push forward, but wherever they moved, another human warship appeared. Like predators circling their prey, the turning point had come. For the first time, the galaxy's strongest invaders were not the hunters, they were the hunted. On alien channels, panic replaced discipline. Captains shouted over one another. Some begged for retreat, others demanded reinforcements, but no reinforcements would come. This battlefield belonged to Earth. From the ground, humans watched with awe. Citizens who once trembled at the sight of alien warships now saw alien wrecks falling like meteors. Children pointed at the streaks in the sky. Old veterans whispered prayers, and across the planet, hearts began to burn with something stronger than fear. Hope. The aliens tried one last desperate move. They charged together at a single point in the net. Zor himself led the attack, his flagship surging forward with all weapons firing. For a moment it looked as if they would break through. But then the Dark Fleet shifted like a tide. The black warships closed around them. Crossfire erupted from every direction. Alien ships exploded one after another, trapped inside the deadly circle. Zor roared in fury as his fleet burned. He had come to make Earth kneel, but now he watched his empire's pride collapse before his eyes. General Ardan stood still as the reports came in. His voice was calm, steady. "This is the turning point," he said. "They thought Earth would bow. Instead, Earth will stand and the galaxy will remember." And in that moment, as alien wrecks fell into the atmosphere like burning stars, humanity rose, not as prey, not as victims, but as predators whose patience had ended. The war was no longer about survival, it was about vengeance, and the trap was now fully closed. The collapse of the invaders. The alien fleet was in chaos. What once looked like a perfect iron cage around Earth had turned into a death trap for its makers. Everywhere in orbit, fire burned, ships broke apart, and the silence of space filled with drifting wreckage. Inside the alien flagship, Commander Jor shouted orders. "Hold the line, reform the fleet, fight them back." But his words were drowned by the screams of his officers. "Another battleship destroyed. Our left flank is gone. Shadows incoming. 3 more signatures. Closing fast." Jor's claws tore into the railing. How could this be happening? Humans were supposed to be weak, unprepared, desperate. Yet here they were, fighting with precision, striking with weapons that should not even exist in the dark void. The dark fleet moved like predators. They struck and vanished. Every shot, cutting through alien hulls with surgical power. No wasted fire, no chaos, only calm destruction. Each time an alien ship tried to regroup, the shadows appeared from behind, like wolves circling, tearing the fleet apart piece by piece. From Earth's oceans, the submarine fortresses launched another wave. Hundreds of missiles surged upward, guided by silent codes. Alien lasers tried to burn them down, but for every one destroyed, 5 more reached their targets. Cruisers split apart in flames, their cores bursting like suns. On the moon, the hidden railguns roared again. Their projectiles cut through the void faster than light could reflect. One slug tore straight through 2 alien ships at once, leaving them drifting in silence. Another ripped the engine off a dreadnought, leaving it helpless in the net. General Ardon watched the destruction from his war room. His voice was steady, almost cold. "They thought strength was in numbers," he said. "But strength is in preparation, in patience, in the will to wait until the enemy traps himself." Around him, the operators stared at the screens. They were young soldiers, many fighting their first war. Yet in this moment, they saw what humanity truly was. Not prey, not victims, but hunters who had hidden their claws until the right time. On alien channels, despair spread. Captains shouted at one another, "Retreat! We must retreat. There is no retreat, the exits are blocked." They knew from the beginning. The truth was clear now. Earth had planned this for years, maybe decades. Every weapon, every shadow, every hidden arsenal had been built for this single moment. The invaders had not trapped Earth. Earth had trapped the invaders. One alien frigate tried to break the net. Its engines roared as it charged full speed toward open space. But before it could cross the line, a dark fleet warship slid silently in front of it. One flash of light and the frigate vanished in fire. Another alien destroyer, crippled and burning, sent out a desperate distress call to the Empire. But the message never left the battlefield. The satellite net intercepted it, twisted it, and erased it. The fleet was not only trapped, they were cut off from the galaxy itself. Jor's face grew pale as he watched his empire's pride fall apart. One by one, his ships burned. Every tactic he tried was countered. Every move turned against him. "This is not war," he whispered bitterly. "This is execution." Back on Earth, people looked to the skies. Families in shelters, children in cities, elders in villages. They all saw the streaks of fire raining down. But now they knew. These were not signs of defeat. These were the lights of victory. Crowds began to cheer. Songs rose in the streets, even under fire, even under the threat of destruction. Hope burned brighter than fear. In orbit, the last of the alien formation collapsed. Ships turned on one another in confusion. Some tried to ram their enemies. Others fired wildly into the void. But it made no difference. The dark fleet moved with precision, finishing them one by one. Finally, only the flagship remained. Zor stood at its bridge, his chest heaving. He knew the battle was lost, but still he could not accept it. "I will not kneel to pray," he spat. "If Earth wants victory, they will take it in blood." The dark fleet closed in. Their shadows surrounded the flagship, weapons locked, silent and merciless. For the first time in his life, Zor felt what he had given to so many others: the fear of being hunted. And below, in the bunkers of Earth, General Ardan gave the quiet order: "Prepare the final strike. This war is almost over." The galaxy was watching. Billions of eyes stared at their screens. They had seen the invincible fleet of the Empire fall. They had seen Earth, the small world once mocked, rise from silence, and they would remember this night forever. For this was not just a battle. It was the collapse of the invaders, and the beginning of a new name for Earth: not prey, not weak, but the world that turned the trap, the world that could not be broken. Earth's answer: the battlefield was silent except for fire. Alien wrecks drifted across the void like broken teeth scattered around Earth. Only one ship remained. The massive flagship of Commander Zor, scarred and burning, but still alive, inside its bridge. The alien commander stood tall. His scales glistened with sweat, his eyes wild with fury. Around him, his officers lay dead or fled. He refused to surrender, refused to accept defeat. "This world will not have the last word," he growled. "If I must burn with them, then so be it." But outside his ship, the void was filled with shadows. The dark fleet surrounded the flagship. Like a circle of wolves around a dying beast, their weapons were armed, their engines steady, yet they did not fire. Not yet. They waited, silent, because humanity was preparing its final message. Deep beneath Earth's mountains, General Ardan stood before the command table. The room was quiet, lit only by the glow of battle reports. One officer asked, "Sir, do we finish them?" Another whispered, "The galaxy is watching, every channel is open." Ardan raised his hand for silence. He knew this moment was not only about destroying an enemy fleet. It was about sending an answer that would echo across the stars. "Open the channel," Ardan ordered. "All frequencies. Let the galaxy hear." The broadcast lit up every alien ship still functioning. It reached colonies, trade hubs, and council halls far across the galaxy. For the first time, every world heard the voice of Earth. It was not angry, not loud, not desperate. It was calm, steady, and final. "You brought your fleet to our skies," the voice of General Ardan spoke. "You thought Earth was prey. You thought silence was fear. You thought your net would hold us." The words echoed through the void. Alien soldiers listened with trembling hands. Civilians across the stars leaned close to their screens. Even Commander Zor froze, his chest tightening as the voice continued. "But silence was never fear," Ardan said. "It was patience. It was preparation. It was the calm of a hunter waiting for the right moment." He paused, and the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. "Now, you will remember Earth." With that final word, the dark fleet fired. Beams of light tore into the alien flagship. Its shields shattered instantly, its armor split open. The ship groaned like a dying beast as flames erupted from within. Zor roared one last time, but his voice was drowned by fire. The flagship exploded in silence, scattering into the void. The battle was over. The invaders were gone, and Earth still stood. On the surface, crowds filled the streets. People embraced. Tears ran down faces. Children pointed at the sky where burning trails marked the fall of the last enemy ship. For the first time in generations, humanity saw itself not as fragile, but as unbroken. General Ardan turned from the screen. His officers stood straighter, their fear gone. He spoke quietly, but every ear in the room heard him. "Send the final signal," he ordered. A single transmission went out, not just to the galaxy, but to history itself. The message was short: Earth does not kneel. In the far reaches of space, alien worlds shivered. Leaders of empires looked at their fleets and wondered if they could stand against such a world. For the first time, fear did not belong to humans. It belonged to the galaxy. And in the silence that followed, one truth became clear. Earth had been underestimated, mocked, cornered. But now Earth had shown its true strength, not in numbers, not in size, but in the will to survive, the will to fight, the will to turn a trap into victory. The trap was theirs, the victory was humanity's, and the galaxy would never forget Earth's answer.